She had 4 open heart surgeries total in her first 3 years of life. Let me say that. She had 4 open heart surgeries. She had a stroke. She had a cardiac arrest. On her, I'll never forget it. It was December 10th. She had her last open heart surgery. On December 20th, she had a cardiac arrest. So normally, like I said, we were immune to, okay, we got to put her back on a ventilator.
Yeah.
They're calling her, go to the waiting room. They'll come back and get us the same amount of time each time. This time, me and my husband were in the waiting room, and something was stirring up in me. I'm like, something's not right.
Welcome to PS Live, where we talk about motherhood, fatherhood, and all that other good shit. I am your host, Jessica Shari, but you can call me Jess. Today we have a wonderful guest. She is a former nurse, and she is also an author, Miss Cewanda Todd. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jess.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this. You have no idea.
Me as well. I have too.
So let's kind of just jump in. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 children, 26, 15, and 11. So quite a gaps in there.
And did you always want kids?
I always wanted kids, actually. Yeah, even when I was younger, like a young child, I was so fascinated with women that were pregnant and babies. Like, not until I looked back when I got older and was like, wow, that started at a young age. I just was always interested. It was a mystery of, okay, I just saw her pregnant. Like, there's a baby here. Like, how do all this transpire? So yeah, I was always wanted to be a mom. Yeah.
That's awesome. And can we talk about those pregnancies a bit? So with 26-year-old, how did that pregnancy go? Were there any
So actually, that was, my first pregnancy. I was 23 years old, no problems. Healthy pregnancy. I was healthy, no issues at all. Second pregnancy, I was 34 at that time. My son, healthy, no issues, except for the end of the pregnancy. My blood pressure started to climb, and they were kind of watching that. But other than that, it was fine. My third pregnancy is when everything started happening. So my blood pressure was still high. So I'd been on medication since my son, like 4 years prior. And I was 38. So, after you're 35 years old, that automatically puts you in a advanced maternal age category where there's cautions and things to test more for, because you're more of a high risk to, have a high risk pregnancy. So that's when I found out about my youngest, my 11-year-old daughter, Kendall's heart condition during that pregnancy.
Right. And then how far along were you when you heard that?
Was 19 weeks when I heard it for the first time. It was the very first ultrasound. And then 21 weeks, it was confirmed by some specialists at Hutzel Hospital.
And how did you feel when you heard that? There could be something,
So many things. I was devastated. I was shocked. I was confused. Like, how did this happen? My other 2 kids were healthy and everything was fine. I was scared. I was numb. I was just all those things, like not knowing. And then also where I had the ultrasounds and everything was where I worked. So for 25 years, I've been a labor and delivery nurse, and I worked in high-risk pregnancy.
Wow.
So this is stuff I was familiar with. So I knew, like, with that ultrasound, the tech staring at that screen, not saying anything, that was a clue. Them coming to get the doctor to come in and look at this, and they're whispering, that was a clue. So I already kind of knew something was up, but I just didn't ask anything because I didn't want to know, at that point until it was revealed to us.
Right. Nah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
how did you kind of cope with it, or what did you do to kind of accept what you were hearing?
That took a while. That didn't come right away. I would love to say that I just prayed and then everything was wonderful,
Or-
but my coping skill to me at that time, I was depressed. I didn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it because we were told that the baby would not survive. At 21 weeks, they told me you have 2 weeks to decide if you want to terminate this pregnancy.
Wow.
If you carry the baby to term, the baby is going to be born and then die. Or if the baby doesn't die right away, you can take the baby home to die.
Wow.
So I wasn't coping at all. I didn't want to talk about the pregnancy. I didn't want to get attached, for, carrying the baby and knowing you're not going to bring the baby home. We didn't decorate. We didn't get, any supplies, baby shower, nothing like that. I would answer just random questions. Somebody saying, how you doing? Fine. How far along are you? 30 weeks. They weren't getting any more out of me because I didn't want to get attached to this baby only to have the baby die.
Right.
Which was hard because I couldn't have joy, through the
Yeah,
pregnancy.
absolutely. And 19 weeks, you're already so far along when you're hearing that.
Yeah. This baby's kicking and develop. We have a bond already, and then you're like, okay, you
Right.
want me to have an abortion?
Just have to detach yourself.
What?
They said in no uncertain terms, she's going to die, period.
Yes. No, no, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Exactly.
Wow. And then what was the actual diagnosis when she was born? She has a heart defect. Well,
Yeah, it's a congenital heart disease that just means like when I was pregnant, her her right ventricle and her heart didn't develop. So she has a 3-chamber heart instead of a 4.
right,
So the ventricle that didn't develop was the one that pumps the blood to her lungs. So, she's had a lot of surgeries in order to do like some rerouting of things and everything, but that in turn made one of her lungs smaller because it didn't get blood flow. So she's essentially breathing off of her right lung and not her left.
right.
Yeah.
Even during this process, was she's going to die? Was that just repeated in the back of your head all the time? Because you were like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
anything
It
you
was like,
probably hopeless. You know,
yeah, because we want to fix it. We
right,
want to make it better. This is our baby, our child. Like we've been wanting, a child that we've been wanting. We want to fix it. And like, what can I do to make this go away?
right,
And to not be able to do that and not knowing what the outcome is going to be, it just took a toll, on me physically, emotionally, relationship wise, in the household, my family, my kids, everybody's affected, you know. It's not just, the person or the mom that's going through it, the husband or the baby's father, whatever the case may be, the siblings, they all feel that, when I'm in a hospital, 24, I don't want to leave because I'm like, this baby needs me. The other kids they'll be fine, That's what I thought. Like, they don't need me as much. I want to be here in case something happens, And if I leave, something's going to happen. I'm not going to be there. So that was a whole, cycle and years of that too.
initially, how long was she in the NICU?
So when I had her, she was only in there 2 weeks. She had open heart surgery on her 4th day of life. Um, then they released her after 2 weeks. Came home. They told me what to look for. Like because her blood flow, her circulation is not, like a normal, quote unquote, normal newborn. Things to look for. Like when she cries, she's gonna get tired. She may be blue. She's fine. Even though that color is not good. That baby's not supposed to be blue. you know, um, so that was always a constant like watching her and everything. So she ended up just one day, I just had a feeling. I'm like, something's not right. Like she's been crying and then she's just like extra, breathing extra to me and just seemed like she's just wiped out. So I took her back. I'm like, I know you guys told me this may be her color and then she may be exhausted from crying, but I don't think took that baby out of my hand so fast, whisked her back, caught a cold on her. Like she had a clot, in her heart, and she almost didn't make it. There were so many cold blues, like along the way, it just became like, okay, again and again and again, It was just like years of that kind of thing, just watching her to know the right color she's gonna be. Is she okay? Or is she not okay?
Thank God
Yeah.
for your intuition, because Mama knows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know this baby yet. She's only like a couple weeks old, but I think that something's wrong. So I'm glad I listened to that gut instinct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me take one pause really quick. I put my daughter down to sleep, but now she's waking up. So
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry. This is my sometimes co-host, Miss Naeem.
A cute co-host.
We don't want to act and then another quick question before we kind of pivot over into your books. Because of all of this, did you deal with just a really deep, I know you said you were already depressed while you were pregnant. Did you deal with a very intense postpartum depression, or were you just kind of just numb and just kind of going in autopilot during this whole thing?
I think I was numb and going to autopilot. I don't feel like there was a postpartum depression because it had already been going on.
Yeah.
And I didn't even separate postpartum, from just being pregnant. It was just like a whole one event to me. So it was basically from the time I found out to years, even if still kind of battling it right now, but just able to cope, better than I was.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like I said, so now pivoting into your books, you have 3 books you've written, which are seem phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you.
I've been so excited to see you. I think you're awesome, first of all.
I was so excited to hear from you and be here. Like, this is what we do. This is what we're supposed to do, to help somebody else.
Absolutely. Shout out to your daughter, Sydney. We went to walk the other day. She introduced me.
Oh, really?
Yes, she let me know about the stories, everything, and I was like, yes, this is absolutely. But starting with your first book, the children's book you wrote first, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So can you tell me kind of where you were mentally when you decided to write that? How old was Kendall when that came out?
Ooh. So we wrote that book in 2017. So she was 8 years old. And I had been journaling the whole time, like in the hospital. So I thought I always wanted to write one, but I kept putting it off. I didn't plan on writing a children's book until it was prophesied over me that Kendall's going to write a book. So that's the only reason I was like, oh, okay. Okay, we need to do this then, since this is what you hear, from God for us. So we decided to write just a short children's book about kids who have a lot of procedures, surgeries, or have to go to doctor appointments, a lot. Then they get nervous anxiety of just hearing you have to go to the doctor. So we did it in a fun way where she used her imagination and became like the superhero and was able to get through those times so that she can look back on it each time and say, okay, it's just a doctor's appointment this time. I'm not staying. They're not drawing my blood. They're not, starting an IV or any of that. So, just to let them know that the doctors are here to help you feel better, not just to, take you to surgery and you wake up and you're in a hospital. So, yeah. So that was hers. And so the second book is called Beautifully Scarred. So at a point, she has a lot of scars from the surgeries, chest tubes, and all those things. So now she was like starting to kind of cover them up when she wore a shirt and looking like, what's this? Because of course she didn't remember all the things that happened to her. So I even took her to a dermatologist because, they're like keloids now.
Okay.
And he was like, Cewanda, don't let her focus on that. You know, he said she'll be in much pain trying to cover those up than she would, you know, if you just leave them alone, let her focus on, okay, yes, these are scars, but this is my testimony.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason for them versus making it look like they were never there. So that was key. I'm like, you're absolutely right. You know, I didn't think about that. I was just thinking about cosmetic reasons, or I didn't want people staring at her.
Right.
But it was just so much more of a message to leave them alone. And that way she'll be able to, you know, tell her testimony, her own testimony, wherever she goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
And
it also talked about, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, and I love that title, and then I love the shirts too. It's like, you know, these scars show that I'm
They
healed.
prove you're healed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also in that book talks about relationship, family dynamic.
Right.
Because sometimes we think we're just going through it, like as a mom, but there's also a father involved. If you have other children, it affects them. And sometimes you don't even know it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that came out like right in the book, that Sydney had her own thing she was going through. I thought she just didn't want to be there. I was mad, like she's selfish, you know, she don't want to be in the hospital. But what a young adult or teenager wants to sit in the hospital and watch your, you know, sister on a ventilator.
Right.
So, you know, I had to learn that, you know, I can't expect them to, you know, be in a place where I was.
Right.
So that was just basically for families and relationships, to let you know what goes on. It's real and it's valid, and you can get through it.
Right.
And then my third book is called Never Alone, and I just released that a few weeks ago. And that is a 30-day devotional I wrote it for parents of with children with special needs, but it can be for anybody that needs encouragement or support, or to cheer them on, and just let them know that they're not alone. Other people have gone through this before, even though we think our situation is worse sometimes. Like, I know people have done it before, but mine is worse. You know, we just think that and feel that. But to, you know, just let you know that you're doing a good job. You're a good mom, that you were chosen to do this. This wasn't a mistake. God had already pre-planned, you know, you to be the mother of this child to be your son or daughter. And he's already worked it out. You just need to, you know, go with it and know that he'll give you everything you need in order for you to, you know, take care of yourself and this child. Yeah.
No, absolutely. When I read the title of your last book, I really got chills because, again, I started Prego shit just because literally the mission is so no parent feels alone, because you
Right.
so alone when you're going through certain situations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Isolated, like you said, like I'm the only one
Yes.
going through this or whatever, but you don't understand there's so many
Mm-hmm.
people who are experiencing these same things,
Right.
and they need to know, okay, this is, even if it is a really frustrating situation, okay, somebody else is coping too. Somebody else can get
Yeah.
too.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're even giving back and giving that wisdom to somebody, or letting them know, like, hey, you know, it's kind of healing to yourself too. Because I realized
Yeah.
when I started doing this, it was almost like the more I talked about certain things, I became kind of more whole in it.
Yeah.
Have you
Absolutely.
experienced that?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then not talking to just family about it, because they want to fix it too.
Right.
They don't want you to see you hurt. They don't want you to see you depressed. They want you to, you know, start being the self you were before. Sometimes you have to talk to people who have gone through it before.
Yeah.
That don't have anything invested in, you know, you and how your feelings are, your emotions are. Sometimes you have to talk to a total stranger in order to, you know, vent.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need somebody to listen, not tell you what to do or what they would do, or, you know, anything like that. So I just want people to know, like, support is out there. It's everywhere, you know. You just have to do your homework and find it. But there's so many things that are free, you know, and available to you that you can tap into to, you know, help you along. And being depressed, it's not something to be embarrassed about.
Right.
It really isn't. It's, you know, it will free you and it'll help you cope and, you know, deal with what you're going through day to day, that
Right.
other people are feeling the same thing, you know.
And then especially as women, we want to appear that we have everything going on.
Absolutely.
Together, no, nothing.
Yes.
Let me just, do this.
Absolutely.
Like that, like you said, that's a prison in itself, where it's like,
Yes.
I can't mess up, I can't cry, I can't be sad.
Right.
And, everything else is gonna break down.
Yeah. Did you ever get mad at people when they were happy around you?
Yes, absolutely.
I would. I'm like, what are you laughing at? Like, why are you so happy?
Like, my husband's happy. He's having a good old time. I'm like, oh, so okay. Really?
Yeah. Right. Well, my husband would be asleep, and I'm like, my daughter's on a ventilator, and I'll be looking at him and looking at her like, how do you sleep through this? Like,
right. Like you just don't care, and it just
yeah, right.
Not your
you don't love her. You don't love me. Like,
right. So I guess I would say, what would you say to a mom who just heard that troubling diagnosis? How, and she probably thinks that it's her fault, because again, as mom, we think, okay, I must have done something wrong, or
right,
to cause this.
Yeah, and it's like we need a reason.
Right.
We need a solid, concrete explanation of why this happened. And when we don't get that, when we get back, from the doctors that we don't know, or it could have been this, or it could have been that, like that doesn't set well with us, because again, we want to fix it. We want to know what it is. And when we don't know, it's logical to blame the person that carried the baby, yourself. Like, it must have been something I did. Did I travel somewhere? Did I drink something? Did I eat something? And in my case, I'm like, was I too old? Maybe I shouldn't have had her after 35. Maybe I did this, and it was because of my age. Was it a medication? Was it something I did or didn't do? And it's just repetitive because you don't have an answer. But what I found out is that, like I said, this life was already planned, predestined. There's nothing you could have done differently, because it's not your job to fix it. It's all in. I found out, like, to your trust and your belief and your faith, to know that, yes, this did happen, but this isn't the end. This isn't final. There's a reason this happened. There's a purpose that it happened for. And then just to, like, dig in and tap into all those reasons. Like, okay, God, this is what it is. I can't change it. Obviously, it's happening for a reason. What is that? And, just to kind of figure out yourself along the way. I learned so much about myself. Like, I thought I had a relationship because everything was good. We had good jobs. The kids were good. They were healthy. So we were coasting along. We went to church twice a week. Yeah, I thought everything was solid. But what I found out, like, I didn't have a relationship with God like I thought I did. I didn't trust him like I thought I did. And so that helped. All of that pain and everything that she went through helped me to become more present and more aware and have a better relationship that I wouldn't have had otherwise, because in a sense, I didn't have a reason to, because there was nothing bad going on in my life. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Actually, I heard somebody say the other day, talking about like Shadrach, like Bendigo, and all the boys in the fire. So, and how they were saying, like, we get frustrated about things happening, but what if, like, our purpose is in the fire? What if, like, that actual frustration is the reason why? God absolutely is an opportunist, because he used that to draw you closer to him.
Absolutely.
And then, like you said, you're in a deeper relationship with God now that you wouldn't. And saying that's what triggered it,
Yeah. And our whole family, not just me, the kids, that we had to lean on him to say, okay, you're the only one who can get us through this. Right. Not by just our prayers alone, but we need guidance. And then we found out a lot about, ourselves and God as well. So It
absolutely.
wasn't just me, it was the entire family. Yeah.
So I want to jump to the question now. Please tell me about a specific time where you just know without a shadow of a doubt God moved, like something that just sticks out to you that you just know that couldn't have happened without God.
Mm, Jess, let me tell you. So what I found out, it was that I was praying for a big miracle.
Yeah,
Like, God, this is what it is. I want you to fix her. I want her to have a new ventricle. Just let it appear on the ultrasound.
absolutely.
I want her to be healed. I want her to be whole, no complications, no more setbacks, and we're just going about our life. That's what I was praying for.
Yeah,
Not so. But what I was not getting was that we were getting small miracles along the way.
yeah,
You know, I was missing them because I was waiting for this big catastrophic miracle that she's healed, and
right.
that's it. But along the way, I was missing the part that she at one time she had a heart attack. Let me go back. She had 4 open heart surgeries total in her first 3 years of life. Let me say that. She had 4 open heart surgeries. She had a stroke. She had a cardiac arrest. On her, I'll never forget it. It was December 10th. She had her last open heart surgery. On December 20th, she had a cardiac arrest. So normally, like I said, we were immune to, okay, we got to put her back on a ventilator.
Yeah,
They're coding her. Go to the waiting room. They'll come back and get us the same amount of time each time. This time, me and my husband were in the waiting room, and something was stirring up in me. I'm like, something's not right.
yeah,
Something's not right. So out comes the 2 nurses that have known her since she was born. And I just saw them like walk towards us, and I knew something was not right. And I just started screaming. So they came over and they said, they're doing all they can do. What? I don't know how I got from that spot to her room, but when I got in there, there was at least like 15 people in there that were working on her, or if not, just standing there like in shock. The doctor that day, they were changing shifts, so this all happened like a change of shift. The doctors were right outside her door when it happened. Thank God,
yeah.
you know. So when we went into the room, they were doing CPR. They were doing CPR on top of the bed, like the real life stuff that you see on TV. Well, she had just had surgery, so her wound was opening. She was bleeding from her chest. They were drilling holes in her legs to put an IV in because they needed more access. Um, in CPR, I mean, they were on her chest, they were pushing medicine, they were hanging blood, they were doing all this stuff, and I'm screaming like, everybody in this room, help, whoever's not doing something, help her, help her. I'm yanking lab coats, like, please help her, don't let her die. So they made us leave. Of course, we would go outside the door where we can see inside the room. And I was just numb, like, this is not happening. I must be asleep. This is an out-of-body experience. So, I kept hearing, okay, she's back. Okay, there's nothing. Okay, she's back. There's nothing. So when it was finally over, the doctor came out and I said, how long was that? At that point, I didn't know if it was 10 minutes or if it was an hour because it was just a blur. He said it was 45 minutes. And, they don't work on anybody for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So he said, Cewanda, the only reason I kept going was, he said, I saw her finger move one time during the course of that CPR.
Wow.
And he said, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop because he had known her. He would always say, she's like my daughter. So thank God it was him.
Yeah.
And thank God he didn't give up on her. And then with that, she couldn't eat. I mean, she didn't know how to eat anymore. She had a stroke too. She didn't know how to talk. She didn't know who we were. She couldn't walk. She couldn't sit up. She couldn't do any of that stuff. So she ended up being in the hospital for like 3 months. She went to rehab, inpatient rehab, where again, she had to learn to do all these things again. And then, finally coming home on a feeding tube, and we had to learn that. So I say, I can give you details forever, but I'm saying that these miracles along the way further push us to a deeper relationship, because there's no way, we could have imagined this that would happen, or this big fix that I wanted to happen. All these things led to her testimony and her story. Like, it had to happen that way in order to get to the place where we are now. So I know still there's a lot of things that you hear from doctors that are hopeless, and they go by statistics, and this is what this kid did, this is how this child thrived or lived to be a certain age. So I had to stop. Like, don't tell me about statistics anymore. My child will live and not die. She made it this far. You didn't even think she was gonna make it, like, day one. Now she's 11. She's 11. Who Nobody predicted this. We still have things that she goes through and doctors that she sees, but to go from where she was to where she is now, you can't tell me that's not a miracle, that she's not a miracle. And we continue to do anything, that we can do, or talk to anybody that we can talk to show, because people tell you about, they'll say, oh, this happened, and the person died.
Right.
Or this happened, and this happened, and, they'll tell you like a horrible ending.
Right,
absolutely. So I am excited to, be able to, for her to show other kids, be a face to the age. Like, she made it. She's here. This 2-year-old can see this 11-year-old, and the mother that was once crying and desperate and, didn't know any way out, can say, okay, these are the steps. It's still horrible. It's still something that you think about all the time, and you wish wasn't happening, but it is. Like, how do you get through it now? Like, day to day, like, for real. Because I still in my mind know she has a 3-chamber heart. And I think, oh, it happened before. What if this? What if that? You know what I'm saying? But I need to calm those fears down and learn how to pray first instead of panicking first and then praying. So it's just like a whole, a lot of stuff that we, went through, and she's here by the grace of God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, it was a phenomenal story. I've been so excited to talk to you because
I've been excited as well.
And during this process, have you had, as you've been sharing your story, have you had other people contact you and say, like, hey, I went through this too with my child, or then thank you for sharing your story. How I feel like I can share mine.
Right. Not like on a big scale, but I have a lot of patients from the hospital that I took care of, that sometimes they're there for weeks, months at a time, that I got really close to. And, a few of them had kids with congenital heart disease. So I still stay in contact with them, like, how's the baby doing? And, on that type level. And even one of my patients named her daughter Kendall, which was so phenomenal to me. So we absolutely keep in touch. But I'm talking to people more like on a local, kind of scale, or a friend of a neighbor that has this. So, I'm starting to, and it took me a while to even do that, because I was like, if people have gone through this before, like, mine's just another story. They have their own stories, but I think everybody's testimony has something different in it that could free somebody else. So now I'm finally wanting to talk to it, like, talk about it on a bigger scale. So that's what I'm trying to be in the process of doing it. Like, things like this, like, really appreciate you, that now I don't have to, just keep my testimony as my own, because it's not for me anymore. I really feel like it's for other people. And it doesn't have to be heart condition related, just in general. to get through these tough situations and circumstances. I said my ultimate goal is to talk to Jimmy Kimmel because his son was born with congenital heart disease.
Was it?
And they've gone through some similar things. I was watching him one night a few years ago, and I sent him Kendall's book like right away. Like, yeah. She autographed it to his son, and I'm like, he probably didn't get it, but anyway, I'm gonna keep trying. Like, a lot of people watch him, talk to him, like he's, has this big platform, and what better way to, even for his son is young, my daughter's 11, to give them encouragement and hope. So that's what I want to do.
Absolutely. And I feel very strongly that God clearly has a plan and purpose for everything that you're doing. And I believe that you will reach Jimmy Kimmel and beyond. And I'm very honored that you're even starting with me, starting on my platform to, speak your story, because God didn't give you, like you said, this has been purpose. He chose you and knew that you were strong enough to be her mother and to.
I didn't know that.
And not keep it to yourself, because our life is not our own. And you're going forward trying to encourage others, which is, most people don't do that. I don't know if you don't understand, like, what do you mean on like a local level or whatever? Like, that's not a small, So, I think you're
right.
So what's something that you have just learned about yourself in this season of your life, these last 11, 12 years?
That is not my job to fix things.
Yeah.
I want to do it. I want to do it now. I want it to be the way I want it, and I want it immediately.
Absolutely.
So it's like to back up and let God do his work, through Kendall, through me, through my family, whoever. Not trying to say I just jump in and take over. I had to learn how to step back and pray and trust in the process. It's not easy, especially when it comes to your kids. You know that. You just want it to happen. You want it to happen immediately, but just to know that God has a purpose for all the things that, your child may be going through or you may be going through. And just to wait, because like what I'm praying for is small. He's got something bigger.
Absolutely.
In store. And I just need to wait and see what that is versus, okay, give me this, little bit right now, this little blessing here and there. He's got something bigger for me. So just kind of take my hands off of it and, trust him is what I really, really had to do and am still doing.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna end it here, but I do want to talk to you a bit after. So, can you let the people know where they can find you, where they can buy the books, the shirts, and follow you along this journey?
Absolutely. I have a website where we have all 3 books on the website, and I do have some T-shirts that the title is Beautifully Scarred, and my scars prove that I am healed. And you can find it on www.kendallswholeheart.com. It's KENDALLSWHOLEHERT.com. I do have some blogs on there about our story, the beginning up until now. On this point, I have a Facebook page called Kendall's Whole Heart. So you can find us on there also and follow us. And I really appreciate you, Jess, too, for having me on. And like I said, this is my first interview like this, and I really, really appreciate you. It was easy talking to you, and it didn't feel like an interview. It just felt like we were talking and communicating. You made it, to where it was comfortable, and thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And like you said, you can find all of her stuff at kendallswholeheart.com. We'll have links to the website as well as links to each book and the Facebook page, all in the description of this video. So until next time, love you guys. Talk to you later.